Welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo. I'm going to talk for a little bit, for a minute or two. We're going to go on and deal with a subject we've dealt with a lot on this show, sort of an ongoing theme: the the murder at the hands of a police officer in Staten Island 4 years ago of Eric Garner. Iconic moment in New York City history and in the movement of people who are fighting against this kind of institutional brutality that could lead to such a horrific ending, the snuffing out of the life of a father. And just recently, his daughter, who was such a great champion of her father's memory, passed away of natural causes. But she had to live these years knowing that her father was killed under the most outrageous of circumstances. Eric Garner, of course, claiming "I can't breathe" as he was put in a chokehold, held to the ground, and the life ran out of him. And what this talks about, what this says, what this incident says about New York, Staten Island, our society, and what it means for us to face ourselves in this situation. Our guests, which are just arriving, are going to be Jewel Miller, who is the mother of Legacy Garner, a daughter of Eric Garner, and Legacy is, I don't know, 3 years old. We'll have the exact age in a moment. And Ty Black, who's often visited this show, and they'll be here in a moment. In the meantime, I want to maybe give my commentary on this incident because it's one that really doesn't go away, and which is at the heart of the Black Lives Movement and of people of all colors and all backgrounds who are fighting for justice in this country in this day and age. You know, where we have people marching through the streets carrying torches and claiming that they're not going to be replaced. Well, what does that mean to not be replaced? What does it mean when people claim they're the victims of genocide when in fact they're the ones who've been perpetrating genocide? How is it we've gotten to have a president, Donald J. Trump, an orange-haired fascist, I'll say straight out, right, who sits there and claims that there's some good guys on the other side? Well, those good people are the same ilk of persons who have subjected millions and millions to death for their own evil aims. And maybe evil is not the right word because it's too limiting. It's not like evil people who came out of nowhere, but they are creations of a system, right? Creations of a way of life, creations of a culture that has not fully come to grips with the hatred that lies at its very founding core. It is yet to really, despite civil war and civil rights and all the struggles that have occurred at all different levels over hundreds of years, has yet to been able to fully come to grips. And I think we're seeing right now maybe one of the positive sides of Donald Trump is that he's given us an opportunity to hold up a mirror to ourselves and to see just what it is that makes us Americans and what it is that we want to. What does it mean when we say we're Americans? And to me, at the heart of that very issue is the whole idea that an American life is more valuable than any other. And at that, because it always breaks that, it always breaks down that the upper class plutocracy that runs this society and through its financial power has been able to basically buy president after president, which has been able to buy Congress, been able to buy the Senate, has put into power a series of laws and rules and regulations, and a guy who's in charge that is not only going to enrich them and give them the power to destroy our entire environment, to destroy the lives of literally millions of people who are here. Why are they drawn here? Why are immigrants drawn to America? Why do they come here? What have we done in the countries that these folks are coming from and fleeing from that have undermined their ability, that has undermined their ability to make a living and to survive, that they have to search out survival over the border through perilous journey, made even more perilous by walls and fences, driving people into the desert where they die and are found dead, to arrest people for leaving out water, to destroy merciful caches of food and liquid that are left for people who are find themselves in these more and more remote areas of the desert as they attempt to cross into this country in search of what? A basic life, some dignity in life. When we go back to these countries, we find that time and time again, their economies have been destroyed by U.S. multinational corporations, by U.S. military operations, by assaults on the environment caused by an economic system that is so dominated by this growth ethic that the United States keeps forcing down people's throats, that we have to grow the society at such high levels. And what is the purpose of growing it at these high levels but to enrich a handful of people, to make billionaires worth even more billions? People who say, I want more, I don't have enough. 5 billion isn't enough. I need 10 billion. 10 billion isn't enough. I need 15 billion. And how do they get those billions? The Koch brothers, you know, one of the worst offenders of them all, right? Going around pouring millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into election campaigns to literally buy the government, right? So that they can dump their toxic waste into the environment. I'm getting over a cold, guys, so don't mind me if I seem a little rough in the throat, but I feel that what I'm saying here has to be said, with as much energy as possible, because we have to get this out to as many people as possible. Now, let's look at it. We go to Staten Island on the streets, and here is a man who's trying to just to carve out a little tiny bit of life, who is a good father, who's taking care of his children, who loves his children, who loves his family, who's beloved in his community and well known in his community, right? He's sick. He has illnesses, right? He has diabetes. He's overweight. He has many problems that have limited his abilities, limited his options. And his options have been limited down to what? To selling a few loose cigarettes in a park in his own neighborhood. Why do they want to get rid of him? Why do they want to get rid of these loose cigarettes? Because they just built multi-million-dollar condominiums. They're here. Multi-million-dollar condominiums have been built. And these multi-million-dollar condominiums in Staten Island, the people look out, they don't want to see somebody who's selling loose cigarettes on the street. So they call out the police. And what do the police do? They respond with a military-style tactical police operation in which they harass this poor man year after year until he's finally had enough. Who wouldn't have had enough? Who would not want this? And he's not even at the time when they make the final murderous arrest. He's not doing anything but standing there, breaking up a fight, helping his friends, and his own community is there, and they pull out their phones and they start filming what's going on, and they turn on these people, and they go after his own friends in the community after this horrible deed is done in order to stamp out the evidence of their act. Unfortunately for them, fortunate for the people, that goes all over the world and everybody sees it, and they can't escape from the fact that a man was murdered, was choked to death for no reason on the street in his own community by cops who didn't care, who coldly didn't care, and allowed him to die, and first responders who didn't do their honorable duty, let this man die and did not intervene when they saw an opportunity to intervene, even as he was calling out for his last breath. Well, this man, who some of you might not like because he's, not somebody you might invite to a party, but you know what? I'd invite him to my party. All right? Why not? People who are elitist out there, who think they're better than other people, who can buy their own pack of cigarettes for $12 and don't understand what it means when you're addicted to tobacco and you want to get a smoke and you can only afford to get one. All right? Don't judge this man until you've walked a mile or even 100 feet in his shoes when you sit up there in your multi-million-dollar condominiums, having your champagne breakfast. Anyway, my guests are here. Ty Black, Jewel Miller, welcome. Glad to have you here and glad you made it. All right, so I was giving some introduction, I guess based on Matt Taibbi's book, which I just finished reading. which is an interesting, gave me a lot of details to what happened. So it was more to talk about this time, I think, as far as a lot of things I didn't know about the details of this horrific crime and the political opportunism of the congressman, of the guy who was the commissioner or he was the district attorney for Staten Island and went on to become a congressman. After doing nothing to prosecute the guy, he then ran on his support of the police and was elected to Congress to replace a guy before him who threatened to throw a reporter over the fence. I remember that too.
That shows you how much racism exists on Staten Island. That they will vote for him, a large amount of people.
Yes.
They're like-minded.
You were saying, and Jewel, I just want to welcome you coming. It's such an honor to have you here and to speak out, for the father of your child and your beautiful child. How old is Legacy now?
Legacy's 3.
It's 3?
She'll be 4 in April. April 13th, yeah.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And, does she know how special she is?
Yeah, she does have a feeling.
Good. I'm glad she does. She's the legacy. So back to, we were talking about how racist Staten Island is, and at a very deep level, not just an individual bully cop on the street who kills somebody dramatically and with callous disregard, but the whole system, what happened in the days and months following this whole incident in Staten Island.
Yes, it's repetitive though. If this happens to you or your family, you may be shocked and might not have been keeping up with the historic events of it, but it's definitely the same thing happening over and over again. And you had mentioned that you have read Tabby's book, where Jewel's still waiting for hers, because so we were going to discuss it on a panel for February 19th as well.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, she hasn't been able to read it in its entirety.
Right. Well, you lived it, and it has a lot of the stories you've already told here, and pretty much, the story you told about how you found out and how you learned about it at home from a, phone call and those kind of things, that add a touching humanness, that a lot of the media didn't. Some did, but a lot didn't. They just see it as some cold story and don't realize there's human beings involved.
Yeah.
Right, and families and children and legacies.
Exactly.
Right.
So pretty much what we're doing is turning a tragedy as we come up here. Thanks for having us every time too. We're always promoting our events. So we turn a tragedy into power by doing these events. We do protests as well, but we learn at the events like what we're doing for Black History Month on February 19th that we can community build, as you said, the legacy. Yeah. So we're focusing on the youth. We have a lot of youth coming out, Jules on the panel, and we're going to address a lot of broken windows policies, which is how Eric was murdered, through broken windows policies. And we're also going to empower the youth. So when, this systematic thing comes down to their generation, they will already know how to proceed.
So tell us, let's break it down. So February 19th, tell us where it is, what its title, how people can find out more about the event.
Well, the title of it is Black History, Present and Future, and that's pretty much what the event is going to embody. It's in the Bronx at a place called Mothers on the Move, a community-based place, and the address is 928 Intervale, and we're going to be there from 3 to 8. Okay. So we're going to have Black youth, people of our age group, and we're also going to have them presenting the history. So we're going to put all the past, present, and future together.
What's the closest subway? Is that the 2-3 over there on Westchester Avenue near Intervale, right? There's an Intervale stop.
The 2 can take you to Intervale.
Yeah, there's an Intervale stop, right? It's right there, right? South Bronx there. I used to teach over at Hunts Point, right near there.
Yeah, well, hip hop started, so we'll actually be doing a hip-hop lesson, a workshop for the youth as well. So we're going to teach the youth, and then we're going to have the youth teaching everyone else, all in this one event.
Oh, great. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. And when does it start? What time does it start at?
3.
3 p.m.
And we're there to 8.
Till 8. And so, okay, it's 9, the address again was?
928.
928 Intervale. And this is February 19th.
Yes.
All right. And so is there a website or a Facebook page or something?
Yeah, Facebook. The Legacy Eric Garner Left Behind is the Facebook page. You can find the event page there. Okay,
great. And so tell us more about who's going to be there. Who's going to be?
Well, we have Fajay, which is Legacy's older sister. She's been out in the movement from day one. She just recently turned 16, and she's into doing hair. So she's going to be presenting about Madam C.J. Walker.
Okay.
And then we have Legacy's brother. He's 12 now. He's going to be presenting about Tamir Rice, Nicholas Haywood, Emmett Till, you know, young boys of that nature, but also showing how great black men were inventors. So it doesn't just leave it on the note that they're just getting murdered. You know, we're looking for solutions, and so that they can move forward to make it a better place to live in instead of just staying stagnant where we are now.
Sure, and we, as we were saying earlier, we can see it's part of a whole system here, because when you see it from the police, from really the wealthy, from the developers who put the condominiums in that neighborhood in Staten Island.
When the money could have been allocated differently. They do that everywhere. At every borough you look at,
right up to
they're
the
finding
Congress.
all kind of things to do with the budget, and except for things that may actually nourish the community. So we're taking it upon ourselves to have those type of events available for the community.
Right. So they're positive type events.
Yes, and we also have a young group coming up. They're called the RBG Girls, and they range from like elementary school up to high school, all in one group. So they're going to be performing.
How's your music doing? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'll be performing as well.
Oh, you'll be performing? Tell me a little bit, how's your career been going?
Pretty much keeping it independent, releasing independent music, videos. You can like my page, Queen Blizzy, and
Queen Blizzy on Facebook, and
Queen Blizzy on Facebook, as well as as well as Twitter. Okay. So you can find all the events coming up. Right.
And you're a rapper, and write and sing rap, right? And rap, rap hip hop. So great.
And we also have Jewel on a panel, and she's going to be on a panel with we call her Aunt Shirley. Some of the older people call her Sister Shirley, but she's an activist that's been out for a while, since back in the day. And also Jennifer Jennings, she's a book author of a children's book. So we have all three, and I'll be hosting a panel. All right,
okay, great. And so what do you plan to, give us a peek into what you plan to talk about, Jewel? What's your topic sentence?
Boy, I will be talking about L. Sharpton. I'll also be briefly speaking on Eric Garner and her passing. Those two topics.
All right, great. Ooh, we're waiting now, right? Great, interesting. So, well, what's your position on the whole? You know, Al got he got dumped on a lot. I mean, he didn't do the right thing a few times. He seemed to be sort of a shill in a way, but also at the recent event, he was keeping people out. Raymond was on the show, and he kept him out or something. I saw something happen at the memorial.
Well, yes, Sharpton. Things have been escalating throughout the family for some time now. And on Erica's funeral, you know, when they didn't gain Ms. Gwen access, I believe Sharpton could have done something totally different in that regard. The way it was handled, the way they mistreated her was. It was outrageous.
Right. So that's why the Taibbi's book really illustrates that, and we've talked a lot. There's actually been some family divisions here having to do with, you know, mostly personal matters.
Yes.
Not really, you know, political or anything like that, but personal matters, which, you know, I don't know, is there a secret way of getting around this?
Yeah, personally, you know, I do hold him responsible because he's been a part of, you know, Eric's murder and funeral and everything regarding that since day one. So you kind of knew that, you know, the family did have some issues. Yes. I believe, personally, you know, and as a reverend and out there in the movement, things could have been rectified, even starting back when Legacy and she was asked to be removed from the panel, from his show. And she was up there with her aunt, you know, just sitting, and L. Sharpton's people asked her to remove Legacy from the stage. So this kind of behavior has been going on for a long time now.
That's shocking to me.
Yeah, it was shocking to me.
I could imagine. I mean, it must be tragic. I mean, it's a tragic thing.
I couldn't believe it.
But this unity is something that's coming around what he's been doing for a while now, and we've been putting out a call since probably about 2014 for families of victims to not work with Al Sharpton.
Okay.
So we would like people to take heed to that a little bit more prior to incidents actually happening.
I know Al. I've talked to him many times. And
yeah.
He is. I mean, I give great respect for a lot of what he's done. At the same time, he's a little too slick. You know, and I think that's always been.
And it's about results.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not getting the results, then let's get back to the table and think of something differently.
Yeah.
If you're just gonna be arrogant as if you're getting the results that everybody needs, you know, I actually think it's a disservice, and I don't know at what point was it compromised.
He's supposed to be a healer, right? I mean, he's not really being a healer in this whole thing. I mean, taking the child off, you can't not recognize a man's child. I mean, I don't know, or a woman's child, or anybody's child, right? You just can't. And, you know, it's bad for the child growing up because it's not like they don't sense what's going on, you know, no matter how young they are. As a teacher, I understand that, and so I would think that you would want to bring people together and play that role and bring the people together instead of being such a almost rabid partisan on one side. You know, not to say I love the fact he was a partisan on so many issues that he should have been on, but this is one where he's misusing his abilities, I think.
No, I think that, and this is not the only funeral that's had issues of this nature. It's just the first one that was publicized.
I see.
This has been going on for a while, and I don't know, for whatever reason, people don't like to really come forward as much and say what has happened to them. But I do know that there is a pattern, and I think we're just used to respecting people like Al Sharpton, but I don't have any respect for what he's doing because we don't get the proper results, and I wouldn't have arrogance in getting these type of results. Settlements is not justice. We want indictments, and you're not getting indictments, so why are you carrying yourself to be like almighty, and we still haven't gotten where we need to go. Right. And now I question, do you really want to go there, or have you been compromised?
I see. So you think that there might be a purpose behind, besides just...
Yeah, because we're fighting against the police, and it's like, we like to do grassroots with people who aren't bought out by any foundations or people that may be donating to them, and also people that are not working so closely with the police, because with that relationship is like, will you really fight for justice?
Are you referring to Al Sharpton?
He's an informant, And
he was an informant. He was an informant for the FBI?
Yeah.
He
I don't
admitted
know
that,
at what point.
He wore a wire at some point.
Exactly. And other people from that era were stating that, you know, he had brought a suitcase around wearing a wire. So it's like, the relationship is too close, I think, at some point. I do think he initially started off on the right path when I did my research of him, the way he used to take the streets with no permit. It was definitely positive.
Right.
And
Day of outrage. I remember the day of outrage.
And grassroots. You didn't ask permission to get in the streets.
No.
Now when he's protesting, you ask for permission, and which is something that we're also against, because you don't ask permission to protest.
So he's become like a politician, really.
Yes.
Pretty much.
And I feel like it's in the way of what needs to be done, because as soon as an incident happened, he's already working with the family, and these are people that are not following a movement and, you know, just living everyday life. They don't know what's what.
What would you, Jewel, what would you like to see happen? What if you had Al Sharpton here and family here, what would you say to them? What do you want for legacy from all this?
Oh, wow. Oh, right now, really, Sharpton, of course, I would want Legacy to know her siblings. You know, I would, you know, and she will. I'll make sure that she does know who they are. Whether she has a relationship with them will really be up to them, because they're all grown now. Even Emery is, you know, old enough to make a decision. But it would be a start for Al Sharpton to reunite the family, because you are out representing the family. You're speaking for the family, and the family is crying in the dark. You know, it may look as though Eric Garner's widow and his children are not suffering, but that isn't true. You know, they are suffering in their own way. And I don't think, I think Al Sharpton, you know, if he really wants to be out and reuniting families, then, you know, he really needs to come and heal the family. He needs to bring healing right now to the Garner family, because that's really what's needed.
So it's a matter of recognizing that there's a child here, and that child is part of the family, and that child has a fair it's important for a child to know they're rooted and they have family and they have people. That is such an important thing, just to know that and to have that warmth, even if it's, it doesn't have to be every day, every minute of every day, but it's so important. And I think to deny a child that is tantamount to a bit abusive. I mean, or at least neglectful.
Yeah, it becomes ugly later on. Even now, she knows her sister is no longer here. She's with her dad at peace.
Yeah.
Whatever, form of peace she's able to say in her mind, she does know that her sister is with her dad. Mm-hmm. She does have another sister. She has two brothers. So one day, she's going to be, I don't want her never to be on a train or somewhere and they're speaking of her siblings and she has nothing.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. Okay, Jewel Miller, Ty Black. We don't have much time, but the event is February 19th. And It's on Intervale Avenue at Mothers on the Move at 3 to 8 p.m. And we hope everybody comes up to the Bronx. The Boogie Down Bronx is a lot of fun.
And right, everybody? And in solution to all of this conversation we just finished, we're building at events like this so that we all can be leaders. Everybody can make a suggestion, and it's, something might be great. This is about unity and moving forward in power.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll have you on again.
Yes.
All right.